My dear brothers and sisters, today I want to bring you a message that carries both comfort and divine anticipation. There are moments in life when everything appears still, when progress feels slow, when every direction looks closed. And yet, in those very seasons, God plans His greatest surprises. He works in silence, but His silence is never empty. When God prepares a new chapter, He often does it behind doors you cannot see. Some of you have prayed for years, asking God for a breakthrough. You've asked Him to open a specific door, maybe in your family, your job, your finances, or your spiritual calling. But God is not limited to the doors you see. He is about to open unexpected doors, the kind you never imagined, the kind you never thought were possible. When God moves, He moves beyond human logic. When He shifts your season, His shift is sudden, supernatural, and undeniable. God opens doors beyond human expectation and logic because His ways are higher than anything the human mind can calculate or foresee. Often we limit our thoughts to what we can see, touch, measure, or predict, and in doing so, we unintentionally reduce the greatness of what God is able to do. Many times people become discouraged because the path in front of them looks blocked, or the opportunity they were waiting for seems permanently out of reach. But God is never confined to the options that appear visible. He is not restricted to the people who, like you, the resources you currently have, or the environment you are standing in. When He decides to move, He creates openings where none existed. He brings solutions from directions you never considered. He raises you up through connections you didn't plan for. Even when circumstances appear rigid or hopeless, God is capable of shifting them in a moment because He is not bound by human timelines or limitations. There are countless moments in life where doors seem firmly closed, and you may feel like your strength, skill, or qualifications are not enough to open them. This is where the supernatural nature of God becomes clear. He opens doors that even your best effort could not unlock. He places you in rooms where your RA alone could not take you. He brings favor that bypasses competition and elevates you beyond natural explanations. Many people spend time trying to force open certain doors, not realizing that God has something far better prepared. Something that will not require manipulation, compromise, or striving. When God opens a door, it fits your calling, aligns with your purpose, and carries a peace that human effort cannot produce. God often chooses the most unexpected methods because He wants you to recognize that the blessing came from Him, not from your own strength or the approval of others. If the door opens simply because of your connections or abilities, you might believe you made it happen. But when the breakthrough arrives from a place you never imagined, it humbles you, strengthens your faith, and brings glory to God. Your journey becomes a testimony that inspires others to trust Him beyond their own understanding. There will be seasons when you cannot see any progress, yet God is quietly setting things in order. He is arranging people, preparing opportunities, softening hearts, and orchestrating situations so that everything aligns at the right moment. You may not feel movement, but underneath the surface, God is constructing a door designed specifically for you. And when it opens, you will understand why the previous doors were closed. They were not rejections but divine redirections, protecting you from lesser paths and guiding you toward what was truly meant for you. This is why faith is essential. Faith keeps you steady when logic fails. Faith helps you trust that God is working even when nothing appears to be changing. Faith allows you to surrender your own plans and remain open to His greater plan. When you walk with this mindset, you stop fearing closed doors because you know God closes them only to lead you to better ones. You stop relying solely on your abilities because you understand that God's power goes far beyond anything you can achieve. And as you keep walking with expectation, you prepare yourself for the moment God reveals the door that will shift your life, elevate your faith, and take you into the next chapter. He has prepared for you divine shifts, begin in silence before they manifest, because God often works in ways that the natural eye cannot detect. When a person looks at their life and sees stillness, they may assume that nothing is happening, but the silence of God is rarely a sign of inactivity. It is often a sign of preparation. There are seasons when God withdraws noise, distractions, and visible movement so He can build something deeper within you. In those quiet seasons, He shapes your character, strengthens your spirit, and refines your faith, because what He is preparing to release requires a foundation that can carry the weight of His blessing. Silence is God's workshop, where He rearranges things in the unseen realm long before the results become visible in the natural. People often misinterpret silence as absence, but silence is where God reorganizes the pieces of your life. You pray and it seems like nothing shifts. You believe and circumstances look unchanged. Yet at that very moment, God is aligning things behind the scenes. He is moving hearts, shifting situations, preparing opportunities, and positioning everything with precise timing. A divine shift rarely announces itself. It doesn't show signs that something is about to break open. Instead, God allows you to walk through a quiet valley so that when the shift comes, you know it was not by your strength, effort, or planning. It becomes evident that the change was orchestrated by Him alone. The silence of God is also a testing ground. In the silent season, He watches how you respond when your emotions feel heavy, when your prayers seem delayed, and when your path looks uncertain. It is in this stillness that faith is proven. Anyone can believe when doors are opening, blessings are flowing, and answers are immediate. But true faith is revealed when you continue to trust, continue to pray, continue to stand, and continue to worship even when nothing seems to be moving. This is where God sees the depth of your surrender and the sincerity of your trust. And it is often after this silent stretching that the shift suddenly breaks forth. Divine shifts are rarely gradual. They come like dawn after a long night, slow in the waiting, sudden in the appearing. One moment everything seems unchanged, and the next moment God opens a way that was invisible the day before. That is why the silent season is so important. It trains your heart to recognize God's hand when the breakthrough arrives. It protects you from pride because you know the shift came from God alone. And it deepens your gratitude because the blessing is layered with the memory of your waiting. When God prepares a shift, He also prepares you. In the silence, He clears out old mindsets, removes unnecessary attachments, and strengthens you for what's coming. Sometimes the silence is God removing what cannot go with you into the next chapter. Other times, it is Him reshaping your desires so you can recognize His will. And often, the silence is simply God making sure the timing is perfect so that when the door opens, everything aligns with His purpose for your life. Your prayers and sacrifices are preparing unseen breakthroughs because nothing offered to God in faith ever disappears or becomes wasted. Every whispered prayer, every tear shed in quiet surrender, every act of obedience done when no one was watching becomes a seed planted in the spiritual realm. These seeds may look invisible, but they carry tremendous power. God receives them, treasures them, and uses them to shape the blessings that will unfold in your future. Many people become discouraged because they do not see immediate results, but God is not a God of instant gratification. He is a God of perfect timing. He gathers every prayer and every sacrifice and allows them to mature until the moment is right. What looks delayed to you is never delayed to Him. It is being prepared for a greater purpose that will exceed your expectations. There are prayers you prayed years ago that you may have forgotten, but God has not forgotten them. There are sacrifices you made, choices to forgive, decisions to obey, steps you took in faith that you thought no one noticed, but heaven took notice. These moments become spiritual investments. They build a future that is shaped by God's wisdom, not by your understanding. Sometimes the answer does not come immediately because God is working in places you cannot see. He may be touching hearts, shifting circumstances, removing obstacles, or preparing opportunities that require time to develop. What looks silent on earth is often extremely active in heaven. Breakthroughs rarely appear the way you imagine. They come layered with the prayers you prayed during your weakest moments and the faith you exercised during your hardest seasons. God knows exactly how to weave your sacrifices into the blessing He is preparing. Nothing you have offered in faith is ever overlooked. When you chose to trust God instead of reacting with anger, that was a seed. When you chose to give when you barely had enough, that was a seed. When you chose to remain faithful when everything felt difficult, that was a seed. These seeds are now producing a harvest that will become visible at the appointed time. God also uses your prayers and sacrifices to prepare you internally for the breakthrough He intends to release. Sometimes the greater work happens not around you but inside you. He strengthens your spiritual muscles, enlarges your capacity, and increases your maturity through these moments of faithfulness. You become more patient, more discerning, more reliant on Him, and more confident in His promises. By the time the breakthrough comes, you are no longer the same person you were when you first prayed. You become someone who can carry the blessing without being crushed by it or misusing it. In the unseen realm, your prayers are building momentum. They are shaping outcomes, opening doors, and calling forth divine favor. The sacrifices you make in obedience create spiritual alignment with God's will. There are blessings that are already on their way to you because of prayers you prayed long ago. There are shifts that will soon manifest because you chose to remain faithful when quitting looked easier. Even when your prayers feel small, they carry weight in heaven. Even when your sacrifices seem insignificant, God multiplies them. And when the right moment arrives, the unseen will become seen, the delayed will become released. And the quiet seeds you planted will rise into a breakthrough that reflects the faithfulness of God. God works through unexpected people, places, and moments because His purposes are not confined to the patterns we predict or the paths we imagine. Many times we expect God to move in a familiar way, through familiar channels, or through people we already trust, but God delights in revealing His power through surprising means. He chooses instruments that human logic would never select. He uses the least likely situations to bring about His greatest works. This is because God wants you to see that His wisdom far exceeds human understanding and that His ability to open doors and shift seasons is not limited by your surroundings or circumstances. When you think help can only come from one direction, God will send it from another. When you expect breakthrough to arrive in a certain form, He will deliver it in a way that leaves you humbled by His creativity. Often, the people God uses to bless your life are not the ones you expected. They may be strangers, acquaintances you barely noticed, or individuals whose presence seems insignificant. But God sees their heart, their positioning, and their role in your journey long before you do. He may bring someone into your life for a brief moment just to deliver a word, an opportunity, or a connection that propels you forward. At the same time, God may withhold support from those you expected to help you, not because they lack love, but because He wants to show you that your destiny is not dependent on human approval. When a blessing comes through unexpected hands, you recognize clearly that it was orchestrated by God. God also uses unexpected places to shape your destiny. Some of the most significant shifts in your life may emerge from places you tried to avoid, or places you never imagined would hold purpose. You may find growth in a wilderness, clarity in a quiet valley, or opportunity in a setting that seems too small, too simple, or too ordinary. God can turn an overlooked place into a launching ground for your next chapter. He can transform a place of discomfort into a place of transformation. He can use a closed environment to reveal your calling with greater clarity. The location may not make sense to you, but it is part of God's perfect design. And then there are the moments, those sudden, unpredictable moments when God steps into your life in a way that interrupts your routine. These moments are not accidents, they are divine appointments. They arrive without warning but not without purpose. A conversation, a delay, a detour, or even an inconvenience can be the very moment God uses to shift your path. Sometimes the blessing is wrapped in what looks like a setback, and sometimes your breakthrough is hidden inside an unexpected interruption. When God chooses the moment, it is always the right moment, even if it feels surprising to you. Because God moves through unexpected people, places, and moments, He keeps your heart dependent on Him rather than on your expectations. He teaches you to stay open, to stay sensitive, and to stay available because you never know which direction His blessings will flow from. This is why faith requires flexibility. You cannot predict how God will answer your prayers, but you can trust that He will answer them in the way that is best for your growth, your purpose, and your destiny. When you understand this, you stop limiting God to your plans and start welcoming His unexpected ways, knowing that they are always designed for your good. No force can shut the doors God Himself opens, because His authority is absolute, His power is unmatched, and His decisions are final in the spiritual realm. When God chooses to open a door, He does not seek permission, approval, or validation from any earthly authority. He does not negotiate with circumstances, obstacles, or adversaries. His word becomes the law over your situation, and His timing becomes the catalyst that breaks barriers. Many people spend years striving to open doors through effort, strategy, or influence, forgetting that God can do in a moment what human effort cannot accomplish in a lifetime. When He opens a door, nothing can override His will. Not people, not opposition, not delay, not fear, not doubt. The door remains open because God Himself stands behind it. Often you may feel surrounded by resistance. People may underestimate you, circumstances may appear unfavorable, and the environment around you may seem hostile to your progress. But when God decides that it is time for you to step into a new season, He removes every hindrance that tries to block your way. He silences voices that spoke against you. He dismantles plans designed to slow you down. He shifts hearts, changes minds, and rearranges situations so that everything aligns with His purpose. Even those who worked against you can become instruments in His plan without realizing it. What was meant to stop you becomes part of the pathway God uses to elevate you. His open door becomes a testimony that no human hand could have created. There are moments when the door God opens will not look possible. It may be positioned in a place where you feel unqualified or inexperienced. It may lead to an opportunity that seems beyond your reach. But God opens doors not based on your qualifications, but based on His purpose for your life. When He positions you, He equips you. When He calls you, He prepares you. The strength to walk through the open door comes from Him. That is why no force can close it, because it was never dependent on human strength to begin with. It is rooted in His promise, sustained by His power, and protected by His hand. Sometimes God allows certain doors to stay closed longer than you expect, not because He is withholding blessings, but because He is ensuring that nothing can interfere once the door opens. He may be protecting you from premature opportunities, from environments that are not yet ready for your arrival, or from people who are not aligned with your destiny. When the right time comes, the door will open with clarity, peace, and supernatural ease. No opposition will succeed because the authority behind the opening is divine. When God opens a door, it carries a spiritual seal. It comes with favor, acceleration, and grace that others cannot explain. You may walk into a room and find acceptance where rejection once existed. You may step into an opportunity that seemed impossible days earlier. You may witness a breakthrough that defies logic and timing. This is the evidence that God's hand is on the door. It is not fragile. It cannot be reversed. It cannot be threatened. It cannot be stolen. God protects what He releases, and He sustains what He begins. Understanding this truth gives you confidence to move forward without fear. You do not have to chase approval or worry about opposition. When God opens the door, you simply walk through it with faith, knowing that the one who opened it will carry you through everything on the other side. Faith positions you to receive sudden supernatural change because faith is the bridge between the unseen promises of God and their manifestation in your life. Faith is not merely belief, it is a spiritual posture, a readiness, a way of aligning your heart with what God has spoken even before it becomes visible. When you walk in faith, you are declaring that God's word is more real to you than your circumstances. You are choosing to rely on His character rather than on what your eyes can currently perceive. This posture prepares you for divine intervention because God responds to faith, not fear. Faith draws the miraculous into your atmosphere and opens your life to shifts that happen suddenly, unexpectedly, and powerfully. Many breakthroughs occur without warning, but they are never random. They are the results of accumulated faith. Faith built through your prayers, your endurance, your trust, and your obedience. Faith keeps your spirit open and your heart expectant so that when God moves, you are ready to recognize it and respond to it. A person without faith can witness an opportunity and overlook it. They can receive guidance from God and dismiss it. They can stand at the doorway of breakthrough and hesitate out of fear. But a person who walks in faith is spiritually sensitive, alert, and willing to step forward even when the path is unfamiliar. This sensitivity allows you to seize sudden shifts the moment God releases them. Faith also shapes your attitude during seasons of waiting. Instead of complaining, faith teaches you to prepare. Instead of doubting, faith teaches you to speak life. Instead of shrinking back, faith teaches you to stand firm. This inner positioning is crucial because much of God's supernatural work begins long before the manifestation arrives. Faith keeps your heart in alignment with what God is doing in the unseen realm. It keeps you from becoming discouraged by delays and from being distracted by the noise around you. It anchors you in expectation, which is a key ingredient for sudden breakthroughs. When God decides to shift your situation, He often does so in a moment you least expect. It may take years of faithfulness to reach that moment, but the shift itself happens in an instant. One phone call, one opportunity, one encounter, one open door, one divine connection can rewrite the entire trajectory of your life. Faith ensures that when that moment arrives, you are not paralyzed by doubt or blinded by fear. Instead, you are ready to move, ready to step into the unknown, ready to embrace what God has prepared. Your willingness to act in faith becomes the catalyst that unlocks what heaven has already ordained. Faith also protects your heart from the spiritual attacks that try to prevent you from receiving your breakthrough. Negative voices, discouragement, and fear attempt to block your ability to believe. But when your faith is strong, you reject these distractions and stay focused on God's promise. This focus creates a spiritual environment where God can release sudden change. It is not that faith forces God's hand, rather, faith aligns you with His timing and positions you under the flow of His grace. When your heart is positioned correctly, the supernatural becomes natural, and the impossible becomes possible. Ultimately, faith prepares you not just to receive a breakthrough, but to sustain it. The same faith that carried you through the waiting season will carry you through the new season God brings. It will help you navigate unfamiliar blessings, handle unexpected opportunities, and remain grounded as God elevates you. And because faith positions you in the right place at the right time with the right posture, it becomes the doorway through which sudden supernatural change enters your life. A new season of favor, wisdom, and opportunity is approaching because God never allows you to remain in the same place forever. He is a God of movement, growth, and transformation, and He takes His people from season to season with purpose. Even when life feels still or repetitive, God is quietly preparing the next chapter of your journey. He does not leave you in a season longer than necessary. He guides you through experiences, challenges, and lessons that shape you for what comes next. When a new season is approaching, there is often a spiritual stirring inside you long before anything changes externally. You begin to sense a shift, a new level of clarity, a fresh desire for change. These internal signals are indicators that God is preparing to release new favor, new insights, and new pathways into your life. Favor is one of the clearest signs that a new season is unfolding. Favor is not about luck or coincidence. It is the supernatural hand of God opening doors, influencing hearts, and aligning circumstances on your behalf. When favor begins to flow, things that were once difficult suddenly become easier. People begin to notice you, opportunities begin to find you, and outcomes begin to tilt in your direction. Favor creates access where there was previously resistance. It brings you into rooms you never imagined entering. It turns impossibilities into possibilities by the power of God's grace. A new season of favor means God is preparing to highlight you, lift you, and position you for something greater than what you have experienced before. With favor comes wisdom, because God does not elevate you without equipping you. Wisdom is the ability to understand the purpose of a season and respond correctly to the opportunities it brings. It helps you discern what to pursue and what to walk away from. It enables you to handle blessings with maturity and use them for the purpose God intends. Wisdom is often developed in quiet seasons through prayer, reflection, and obedience. As the new season approaches, God sharpens your discernment, increases your spiritual sensitivity, and gives you insights that help you navigate transitions with confidence. This wisdom becomes a guiding light for the opportunities He is about to release. Opportunity is the manifestation of everything God has been preparing you for. When a new season arrives, opportunities begin to appear that were not available before. These may come through relationships, assignments, open doors, or unexpected connections. Opportunity is God's way of ushering you into what He has designed specifically for your growth and purpose. Sometimes opportunity looks unfamiliar or intimidating, but it carries the potential to shift your entire trajectory. When God brings opportunity, it will align with your calling, stretch your capacity, and draw out the gifts within you. As this new season approaches, God is also removing things that cannot travel with you into the next chapter. Certain relationships may shift, old habits may lose their grip, and familiar environments may no longer feel comfortable. These changes are not signs of loss, but signs of preparation. God is clearing space, refining your focus, and strengthening your spirit so that you can step fully into what He is about to reveal. The transitions may feel uncomfortable, but they are necessary for the season ahead. A new season of favor, wisdom, and opportunity approaches gradually in the unseen realm and then appears suddenly in the natural. You may be standing in the final stretch of your waiting, unaware of how close you are to the shift God has prepared. Each step of faith, each prayer, each moment of surrender has been preparing you for this unfolding chapter. The atmosphere around your life is changing even now, and soon the signs of this new season will become clear as God begins to reveal the plans He has been preparing for you. The shift God is bringing will transform your direction and destiny, because divine shifts do not simply adjust your circumstances, they realign your entire life with God's higher purpose. When God initiates a shift, it is intentional, precise, and deeply rooted in His plan for your future. Many people pray for change, not realizing that true change often requires a redirection of thoughts, habits, relationships, and priorities. God does not shift your life superficially. He shifts it at the foundation level. He redirects your steps in ways that lead you away from what limits you and toward what expands you. When He brings a shift, it touches every aspect of your life, from how you think to how you walk, what you pursue, and what you let go of. A divine shift often begins with a sense of discomfort or restlessness. You may feel like the things that once fit no longer feel right. The environments where you were comfortable may start to feel limiting. The patterns you relied on may no longer produce the same results. This internal stirring is not confusion, it is God signaling that your season is changing. Before God moves you physically, He moves you spiritually and mentally. He prepares your heart to release what is familiar so you can embrace what is ahead. This process can feel unsettling because destiny requires you to outgrow old versions of yourself. The shift God brings invites you into growth, maturity, and a deeper level of faith. When God shifts your direction, He also aligns you with the right people. Some individuals will enter your life precisely at the moment you need them. They may bring wisdom, support, opportunity, or clarity. Their presence becomes a catalyst that pushes you forward. At the same time, God may distance you from relationships that no longer support your purpose. This is not rejection, but protection. When God redirects your destiny, He surrounds you with people who nourish your growth and removes those who hinder it. Each relationship becomes part of the divine architecture shaping your path. As the shift unfolds, God begins to open doors that reflect your calling more accurately than the ones you pursued before. These doors carry purpose, alignment, and favor. They lead to new assignments, new responsibilities, and new opportunities that stretch your faith and develop your gifts. You may find yourself stepping into roles you never imagined or exploring paths that once seemed out of reach. The shift refines your identity and elevates your capacity, revealing strengths you didn't realize you had. What once felt impossible becomes attainable because the grace of God is backing every step you take. A divine shift also reshapes your perspective. You begin to see your life through a lens of purpose rather than pressure. Challenges become lessons, delays become preparation, and closed doors become protection. This renewed perspective strengthens your spirit and builds resilience. You recognize that every event, both joyful and painful, has contributed to your growth. This understanding empowers you to move forward without fear because you know that God's hand is guiding your journey. Ultimately, the shift God is bringing is not about simply improving your life, but aligning you with who you were created to be. Destiny is not discovered by accident. It is revealed through divine orchestration. As God redirects your steps, He leads you into appointments, opportunities, and environments that were designed for you long before you arrived. This transformation affects the way you pray, the way you decide, the way you believe, and the way you dream. And as the shift continues, you begin to walk with confidence, clarity, and purpose, knowing that your destiny is unfolding exactly as God intended.